Ce continent qui a tant souffert et qui continue.
This continent has suffered so much and continues to suffer because of imperialists.
Ces impérialistes n'ont qu'un seul cliché.
These imperialists have only one cliché in mind. Africa is the empire of slaves.
C'est comme ça qu'ils voient l'Afrique. Pour eux,
This is how they see Africa. For them, Africans belong to them. Our lands belong to them. Our subsoil belongs to them. They have never been able to change the logic until today. This is deplorable.
Hey, woo, yeah. It's Janetta. And I'm trying to keep a smile on my face and feel real great about things. But there's some things that just kind of get you. And I'm going to be nice about it, but I have something I'd like to talk to you about. Well, I don't know if you've heard, but we have a congressman named Matt Gaetz that talked about the troop withdrawal from Niger. I don't know if most Americans knew about it, but we built a drone base in Niger, a country next door to Nigeria, and in the area of Burkina Faso and Mali. And this area, they have decided that they don't want any more foreign bases in their countries. And I think a country should be able to decide that. In fact, it wasn't the decision of the people that gave the United States permission to build a major base in Niger. But under a certain administration, they were granted that privilege. But when you look at it, why? Why have they built a drone base in Niger? And it seems that if they have done that it would be of the consent of the Nigerian people. And the fact that these people would now ask them to go, then I would understand what would be the problem. But they didn't ask them to come and build a base there in Niger for their protection. In fact, they're not really being protected. But nevertheless, it was at one time that we had heard a rumor from someone that told someone else that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. And the next thing we've known that we went over there, we lost soldiers, we lost men, they lost a lot of people, and a lot of people died based on a rumor. And those rumors were made rulings and agreements in the Senate and the House and in Congress. We went to war based on what somebody said they believed. Well, I want you to listen to brother, Senator, Congressman Matt Gaetz, whether he's a Republican, and he is, or a Democrat, really makes no difference. Because some of these decisions we've made to go to war have been made by either parties. But this is what he has said that we should do. Now I want you to listen to it.
I've heard about colonialism, I've heard about countries taking over other countries, I've heard about oppression, but I never thought in my whole life I'd ever experience or witness something as drastic as this. In a blatant form of expression and zero consideration and zero respect, here is an American congressman explaining to his peers on how America should have acted in Niger, or can still act. Niger very recently asked American soldiers to leave their soil.
The American presence on the territory of the Republic of Niger is illegal and violates all the constitutional and democratic rules.
And normally when you're asked to leave somebody's soil, what do? you leave. This American congressman named Matt Gaetz say America shouldn't have done that. They should have forcefully sent the C-130s on Niger airspace and forced themselves into Niger. Should any country in Africa dare to turn off their defense system, Americans should bomb them and destroy them. Listening to this guy, you think you're listening to a bully talking to people with no defense against them. This is crazy, fellas. Listen to this. He's going to mention C-130, and I'm going to explain to you what C-130 is for you to get the context. So C-130s are airplane made by the armed company Lockheed Martin. It's an American 4-engine turboprop military transport aircraft designed and built by Lockheed. It is capable of using unprepared runway for takeoffs and landing. So this is a little bit like a 4x4 of airplanes. Listen to this.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to warn this body of the deteriorating conditions in the African country of Niger and to give rise to the concern of service members and contractors. More than 1,000 of them right now are functionally being held hostage in Niger. They are being used as pawns during a negotiation that has left America at the bended knee of third world criminals and thugs as our troops seek medicine and fresh water.
Third world criminals and thugs. That's what you are called. Third world criminals. Unbelievable. Let's go.
Troop rotations. How did we get here with more than 1,100 Americans endangered right now in Niger? Well, it started back in March of 2023. Secretary of State Antony Blinken went to Niger and proclaimed that it was a model of resilience, a platform for great democracy. It would be where America would execute its Africa strategy. 1 year later, almost to the day, there was a coup in Niger. And guess who overthrew the government that we said was the great model of resilience? People we trained. We trained the coup leaders to go throw out the democratically elected government of Niger. And I know this will surprise you, but after that occurs, they say they want our bases that U.S. taxpayers have poured more than $1 billion into gone. They want our service members gone. And so I came to this floor after hearing from some of my constituents who were stationed in Niger. And after the overthrow of the government, there weren't resupply flights. They said, Congressman, we are going to be out of medicine in May if we don't get this sorted out. 3 days after I filed part 1 of the report that I am supplementing today, the Biden administration announced that we will be leaving Niger. A welcome sign, I'm sure, but the leaving didn't actually happen. We have people who are now more than 200 days into a 180-day rotation, and while the negotiation regarding retrograde and withdrawal are ongoing, the government in Niger is using the well-being and health of our service members as leverage to get what they want out of our government. Our troops aren't getting medicine for malaria, for cholesterol, for their blood pressure, chronic conditions. And I've received the letters from the wives, from the fathers of the people who are in Niger now, and they say, we know that our family members are being extorted by the local governments when they try to leave, hundreds of dollars to even bring a bag through the airport. We know that Russians are behind the wire. You know what a real U.S. president would do? Say that C-130s are on their way to Niger today with the water and the medicine and the food our troops need, that they will have a full fighter pilot escort there. And if the Nigerian government or any other third world thug tries to even turn on their air defense systems, we should show those leaders and those thugs what the target package looks like on their houses and their family members, because it should not be Americans that are suffering because President Biden and Blinken are so embarrassed that their strategy in Africa failed that they're willing to let Americans' conditions deteriorate.
Do you hear that? He said, a real president would have sent a C-100 airplane with water, food, and other things. And should any of the third world country dare to switch on their air defense, we would create mayhem in their house, on their families. Do you hear that? I mean, it's the entitlement for me. It's the privilege for me. It's we are superior to you. You are absolutely nothing. Like, you don't need to say that to say that. You don't need to say those words. Like, we can go to your house, and if any of the third world country dare to do this, and we're going to in their house, in their countries. Let me give you context very quickly. Niger is Niger. Beautiful place, lovely people. The country was colonized by the French for many, many years. And after independence in the 1960s, the French still kept all of the economy of the country. Niger is a major producer of uranium. And uranium is what you need for the atomic bomb. Not just the atomic bomb, also for the creation of electricity. France used Niger's uranium for many years to make much of its electricity. France made so much electricity that it sold some of the electricity made from Niger uranium to other European countries. In Niger used to be French and American troops. They were stationed there trying to fight terrorists, supposedly. The American soldiers went to Niger to train Nigerians on how to fight against terrorists. In the same occasion, they proposed to build an air base, an American base, worth $100 million with the goal of surveilling terrorists around Africa. I mean, it's crazy. You in America need to surveil terrorists in Africa, in somebody else's country. I mean, if you want to protect your house, shouldn't you have bouncers in front of your house, standing at the door, looking after the house? Why would you need to go to somebody else's country so you can build a base? I mean, many people believe the goal was not just to surveil terrorists, it was also to make sure Americans' influence reign in that side of Africa. Now, the new government is coming to power in Niger. These are soldiers that were against the president. The previous president seemed to be working for Western nations because his country had so much uranium. In the meantime, most of the people lived in darkness. There was no electricity for the country. The country produced so much uranium, but in the same token, they have no electricity for the people. It made no sense. Therefore, the soldiers stood up and toppled the president and they took power. Now, once they took power, the first thing they did, they called the French ambassador to come and have a meeting with them because they are the new government. The French ambassador ignored them. You come to somebody's country, they've changed the government. The new government said, come, you as a French ambassador, come, let's have a talk. The French ambassador ignored them. And they say to him, we're giving you 48 hours to leave the country. After doing that, France was not happy. France said, we do not recognize you as a government. You are not democratically elected.
I believe our policy is the correct one. It's based on the courage of President Bazoum, on the efforts of our diplomats and our ambassador in Niger, who will stay despite pressure from coup leaders. We do not recognize them. We support the president, who's not resigned.
We're talking here about somebody else's country. This is Niger. The Nigerians say it's not for you to tell us whether we are legitimate or not. You are not Nigerian. You are going to leave our country. Emmanuel Macron stood up and said, if you dare touch my interest, I am going to defend them. In other words, I am ready to bomb you if that's necessary. Now, because that sounded too weird and too odd in somebody else's country, they were ashamed. The people of Niger, the civilians, came down the street in millions asking French soldiers to leave the country. They eventually left. Americans were also in Niger, in Agadez. That's where they were stationed in their base. They thought they had no issue. And in fact, they had no issue until the Nigerian prime minister traveled to Iran, going to have a talk with the Iranian counterpart. After the Nigerian prime minister went to Iran, American diplomats made a comment. They accused Niger of wanting to sell uranium to Iran. And you know, if Iran gets uranium, they're going to create the atomic bomb. They did that expecting Nigerians to come explain themselves and say, oh no, we did not try to sell any uranium to them, because that's what most African people would do. But unfortunately for them, the Nigerian then say to them, okay, it's not for you to tell us who we're going to cooperate with. It's not for you to indicate who's going to be our partners. You know what? You actually pack your stuff and leave. That's when the Americans were asked to leave the country. That's the context. Now, this congressman is very pissed off on how Americans decided to leave without the fight. Let me remind you here, Iraq has an American base. And back in time, Iraq asked Americans to leave their base, to take their base and leave the country. You know what they did? They said, we are not leaving. Before we leave your country, you need to pay us the money we've invested in your country on building our military base.
At some point, we want to get out. But this isn't the right point. The other thing is, if we do get out, you know, we've spent a tremendous amount of money on building airports and building, it's one of the largest embassies we have in the world, Mike. And we want to be reimbursed for the various costs that we have had, and they're very significant. But we'll work something out. And I talk sanctions, but I'm only talking sanctions if we're not treated with respect. We have to be treated with respect.
You need to pay us for the money we've used without asking you to build our military base on your land. So they stayed forcefully in Iraq. But unlike Iraq, in Niger, they packed their stuff and left. Now this congressman is pissed off, saying, it's not late. This is so un-American to just leave and go. Why would you leave? Let's go back to these third world countries. If they dare turn on the defense system, we're going to bomb them and show them they're nothing. Third world people. That's what he's saying. And he says it's not late. Well, they are special people. You're not. You're nobodies. You're not worth it. You're not worth the time. Third world country. I don't know how I feel about this. Let me know how you feel about this.
Now that you've listened to what Congressman Matt Gaetz has said, I want you to think about it. I want you to make a decision, because a lot of you out there are people of African descent. You to make a decision whether you want to send your young men and young women to fight in a war against the African people who have been living on a continent that is the richest continent in the world, but yet have been maintained impoverishment under neocolonialism. Yes. Not colonialism. Yeah, they were given their freedom. And me living in America, being in America, I really believe that when America and other people said that they were given freedom, that these people were really free, but it's not so. It is not so. Here in Africa, you really see how downgraded we as a people are treated. It's like we can't make our own decisions, that we need somebody's help. And if we don't take their help, then they're going to try to force us to take their help. But everything they do in Africa is for the good of the African people. It's for the good of the African people. But just listen to what Matt Gaetz has said, and you think about it. You think seriously about what has been said. And you need to, these videos that you're hearing about Africa, let me tell you something. America, Jamaica, Haiti, Bahamas, every place we are in, every country we are in throughout the world, Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala, all the countries we are in the world, whether it's on the Asia Pacific side, whether it is in the Americas, whether it's in Asia, it makes no difference whether it's in Europe. The Africans in Europe, I mean Africans, African Jamaicans, African Nigerians, African. If your skin looks like mine, darker or even lighter, and you're in African descent, this applies to you, what they're saying. The only free place you'll have, the only place that you can't be put out of and said it's not yours, is Africa. Yeah. In reality. And wherever else you are, you're still considered an African, a black man. It makes no difference. So you need to listen to what's going on right now. This is the intention of the African people. The African people want to benefit from their riches. They are tired of being poor. And there's no reason as to why they should be. It almost seems like we can't handle what the Most High has given us. That he sent us somebody else to try to help us to live within our means and above our means, and to utilize everything he has provided us with. The gold they have here would almost cover the streets of gold. We have been made provisions. And you know what? One of the things I found out, all these groups of terrorists we have over here, those terrorists are not saying they're going for gold or for diamonds or for jewelry. They're talking about going for people based on religious grounds. Well, we've gone through that before with Christianity. You remember a long time ago? Yeah. So now they're saying that the reason that these people are coming into Africa and killing Africans is because they want them to be Muslim or a certain sect of the Muslim. Well, you know what? Here in Tanzania, over 50% of the people are Muslim. There's not one country you can go to in Africa that a percentage of the people are not Muslim. So it's not about making them Muslim, because there are people that are going to volunteer to be Muslim. That's another religion. It's another faith. So what is it? What is it? Is it because Canada wants to keep hold of the gold mines? Is it because France want to still eat and survive off of Africa? Is it because of imperialism? Is it because of colonization, that they still feel that Africa is their colony or enslaved to them? It's time to make a change. Okay, Senator Matt Gaetz, make sure you're not shooting from the hip, because we don't have our back turned. We're looking right at you. All right? Make sure you're telling the truth and not spreading a lie. All right? Lives depend on it. This is for you, Brother Matt. Yeah. Okay. Let me say this to you. Let me smile to my sisters and brothers. It is time for us to eat at the table. We have been getting crumbs for the last 400 years. And the deliverer is within us. No, Moses is going to come get us this time. And Jesus ain't coming yet. But that deliverance that you need and we need is within you. Make a stand. Come to the knowledge and understanding that some of the very people that we have trusted because we thought they were so smart, the elite because they made some money, are the people that are holding us down and keeping us poor. I don't care what the color of the skin is. They have no intentions on you living within the means that the Most High planned for you and me. Okay. I'll talk to you later. Make sure that you let me know how you feel. A lot of you have let me know and given me comments, and I really appreciate it. And let's keep it rolling, because we need the power of voice and determination. Our young people need you, senior citizen. They need you, middle-aged. They need you. We all need to unify together. We have a purpose and a meaning. Don't let lies destroy us. Don't believe the narratives. Find out the truth for yourself. Okay. I one of these days I'm gonna get my ooh back. Ooh, let me try. Ooh, yeah. Okay. This is Janetta, and I'm gonna tell you something. Blacks Are Radio on Saturdays, blacksarradio.com. And please make sure that you subscribe, and you definitely got to comment. And you definitely have to share it. And, say how you like me. Okay? And I'll be seeing you. All right. Ciao, Bella. Hey, this is Janetta, and you're watching Africa Speak.